Yes, yes. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the United Front. My name is Zayn, and you're joining me here today alone for the Zayn's Front. Hopefully, looking to make this a weekly occurrence every Tuesday night. So please, guys, make sure you stay tuned. A lot of good stuff to get into today. I think most Manchester United fans nowadays are deep in thought about the manager. A lot of people have a lot of different conflicting opinions. So loads to get into today. I think yeah, we'll have to start off with is the new manager the right player? Who knows? I think we'll see. Before we get into everything though, guys, please make sure you smash a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you are new. We're on 95 subscribers at the moment, so five off the beatable 100. So please, show the support, help get us there. Keep sharing the content. And yeah, stay tuned. A lot of good stuff coming this week. We got the podcast on Thursday along with a match preview. Hopefully, get a rival fan on as well at some point for the Sunderland game and all the good match day content as well. So, guys, please make sure you stay tuned. But right, let's get into it. Managers, INEOS, and this is a warning. Gareth Southgate. We I don't even know where to begin. Gareth Southgate. Don't you dare. Don't you dare. Don't you dare. I don't know how else to say this. I don't know in how many different ways I can say this, but do not dare go bring us Gareth Southgate now. After everything you've done, after all your decision making, after every questionable decision, after everything, you want to come back and give us Gareth Southgate? Absolutely no chance. Don't do it. But I feel like I needed to get that out there just to start off really. No Southgate cannot be done. I don't think he's the guy. I never thought he was the guy when it was with England, and I don't think he's done anything at all outside of his achieving semi-finals and finals with England either. So that has to be a no-go zone. We can't be doing that. But I think before we get into the different manager options, I think it's important to ask a question. Really, is getting in a new manager the right move? Now, it's a tricky one. It's a tricky one. I think when it comes to the manager situation, obviously you have many fans who are Amorim out. They're done. They need to see change. They cannot stand seeing this guy anymore with his system, his stubbornness, the lack of adaptability in games. And, they want a new manager. And you know what? That's not the camp that I fall in, but in all honesty, I completely understand why people are in that camp at the moment. I get it. I get it. So, we're not going to sit here and gaslight you guys and, make it sound like you guys are being unreasonable. You're not. Like, I think it's very fair. It's a fair play to want Amarim out. The camp I fall in personally is not that camp. I'm still with the manager. I'm still behind the manager. Not to say that he's the best manager out there. Not to say that he's 100% gonna, bring back the glory days. However, I just think the problems are bigger than the manager personally. And, for those reasons there, I won't delve too much into it. I feel like I've done quite a lot of content on the manager and what my views are. But I still think I don't know if it's wishful thinking, but we're still thinking that he's got it in him. It's early days. What we 5-6 games into the season now. Um, maybe yeah, I think six actually. Who knows? But I think you give him at least 10 games. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. But the main question really is: do we replace Amarim? If we are to replace Amarim, do we replace him with the man that we want to take us forward, so a full-time manager, or do we go down the route of interim? No, I think this is it's a very tricky situation. A lot of people are screaming out different names. We'll get into all the names that we know. We've got names like Glasner, Areola, Xavi, Unai Emery, potentially even many, many different names, being thrown about in all different areas. So there's a lot to get into in terms of that. But is that the right play? Is that the right play for Manchester United right now? Let's take it. So let's paint a little scenario. This weekend, we've got Sunderland at home. Now, to myself, even as somebody who's Amorim in, this is a must-win game, and I think it's going to be tough. Sunderland have had a great start to the season. I think they're in the top four, top five at the moment. They're doing really, really well, and it's not going to be easy. We're not having the best form at the moment, so it will be challenging. And to me, that is an absolute must-win game. If we lose to Sunderland and then we have an international break, and they decide to pull the trigger and sack him, then is it early enough to salvage something out of the season? Maybe. However, if they don't, we then have Liverpool and we have, whichever games are coming after that. But if they decide to pull, I heard that there's a clause or something that they can't sack him until after October. So to avoid paying him, I think it's around 12 million or something along those lines. So if we're waiting until November, at that point, do we go get a new manager, permanent, or do we go for an interim? Now, I like to explore the interim options probably a little bit. We're looking at the likes of probably somebody like Carrick, Fletcher, Ollie, somebody like that. And obviously, everybody will have different opinions. I think personally, I would go down the route of an interim. Reason being is if you are going to sack him after October, so during November at some point, if the performances haven't improved or anything like that, then I think you go get an interim and don't make the same mistake that you made after sacking Eric Ten Hag. I think we put Amrim in such a difficult situation. We brought him in when he didn't want to come in. We forced him to play with a team that wasn't his team. The good thing is, I think INEOS have done this really well, is that they've actually went and brought in players that are just good players, not just, the managers asked for Anthony, give him Anthony. He's asked for Malacia, give him Malacia. No, it wasn't that style. They picked the players, gave him his choice, and he picked the players that he wanted. And, I think INEOS delivered reasonably well over the summer transfer window. So I think the whole we need to back him and give him a new team isn't something we need to really worry about and focus on too much in terms of that side of things. However, I do think bringing in that permanent manager, if it takes him a little bit of time to get the team going and get the team firing, it can already paint him out in a very negative light. Again, similar to what happened with Amram. Amram came in and said, I'm playing a 3-4-3. This is my system. I like to come in the summer, not in the season. If Amram had come in the summer and we've had a bit of a shaky start, nobody would be calling for this guy's head because they'd be like, he's just joined. He's only had a preseason. He's had a little transfer window, and he needs to get the team gelling. But because we brought him in November last year, and he was dealt a very tough hand, didn't have a transfer window, nothing like that, just the players and himself. And they really, really, really suffered. And the reason why Manchester United fans are so impatient now is that they're like, we've been dealing with this for 9 months, 10 months. This fraud, this guy, this. He has you guys under a spell. No, 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 no. You've heard it all before. So it doesn't make sense, in my opinion, to go and make the exact same mistake as he made last season, made the exact same mistake again. It's just not, I don't think that's the right play. So I personally would go for an interim. Now, who, I don't know, like I said, there are different options, probably somebody like Fletcher, Carrick, maybe even Ollie, somebody just come, with the good vibes, put that arm over the shoulder for the players, get their confidence up, get them playing, get them having fun, enjoying themselves on the pitch. And hope to finish somewhere decent-ish, I guess. I don't even know. I can't really call it decent because, to Manchester United standards, it's far from decent. But potentially somewhere in the top top 10, top 10 maybe. I don't even know, top 8, if we're lucky. And I think that might be the better play. That way you give somebody else who comes in the summer, gets a little transfer window, they fill that huge gaping hole that we've got in the midfield, and they give him a little bit to work with. And at least that way he can push into the season with a good preseason, a better team, and, nice, clean slate. So that's my personal opinion. guys, let me know what you think. Get your thoughts in the comments. Let us know what you think as well. What would you do, interim or full time manager? Let me know. Moving on to the permanent choices. So, one person we have been linked with is Glasner from Crystal Palace. A lot of people, are thinking, okay, he plays a similar system. He's doing really well with Palace. I think they're now unbeaten in, is it 19 games? They've just beat Liverpool, handed them their first loss of the season. And Ben Jacobs came out, I think, was it yesterday, and reported that Glasner, if given an opportunity to come to Manchester United, would come immediately. Now, considering the formation and things like that, I think it would make sense. However, it's definitely not what I want. I think we've had so much talk over the last 10 months. The system doesn't work. Three at the back doesn't work. This. Like always on the system. Every time we lose a game, it's the system. Every time we win, nah, it was all right. So I'd rather just negate all that conversation, give it somebody who plays four at the back, some exciting football, and we take it from there. But Glasner looks like a really good manager. He looks like the real deal, in all honesty. And he does say that his favorite formation is the 4-4-2. I think the key difference between somebody like Glasner and Amorim is that Glasner is willing to adapt his style of play, depending on the personnel that he's got in the team. So just because he plays a 3-4-3, first of all, it's not like we're actually excelling in the 3-4-3, but just because he plays a 3-4-3 does not necessarily mean that he'll come to Manchester United and run the 3-4-3. But who knows? That's what we've seen him do well in, though. So again, it sparks up different conversation. But it seems like a definite good choice. Seems like somebody we would be interested in getting if we were to sack Amorim. So definitely one to keep your eyes on. I think more my preference personally would be Areola from Bournemouth. I think he does play, that high intensity, exciting football, four at the back, very direct. And I think he'd be a great fit for the Manchester United way. Now, I say it, with the inverted commas there, but it's because we haven't seen the Manchester United way in a long, long time. So I think somebody like him, given the right time, with the transfer window, hopefully in the summer, for him to identify the key areas where he feels we need development, I think he could be a solid, solid choice for us as well. But yeah, that's an interesting one. On the flip side, a lot of people like, no, sack him in right now and get Areola in right now. He lost his first 10 games with Bournemouth. Now, that's not to say he's not a good manager. It's, do Manchester United fans have the patience for something like that? Lower level teams usually don't mind. They see somebody trying to work a certain system, they see what's going on, they see this, see that. But are we too traumatized and bruised from Ruben Amorim right now to be able to handle a situation like that? I really don't think so. I think the Manchester United fan base at the moment is a very toxic place to be. Usually, as a Manchester United fan, you're defending yourself, defending your club to rival fans. However, myself, even somebody like Cowley as well, it's usually us against not only rival fans, but also our fans, because there's so many different conflicting opinions in the fan base at the moment. A lot of people are losing patience. People want to see results right now. And I completely understand it. I do. I completely understand it. It's completely fair enough. But it's a very volatile situation currently at Manchester United, and it's a very, very toxic one as well. So I don't know. I don't know. I think this is why we mitigate that risk by just, if we go on interim, nobody really cares. Obviously, we want to win games, but we know that this manager isn't the future. If we have an interim, he can come in with the good vibes of you know, the Manchester United way feels, and get them all gassed and get them excited, and then hopefully get them playing some decent football up until the end of the season. But we know, even if we do lose games here and there, nobody's going to be that bothered. You won't have the questions of, oh, do you reckon we made a mistake? Do you reckon we made the right call? All these kind of questions. The social, the media. Don't my feelings on the media already? I can't stand them. Like they're going to be onto any new manager at Manchester United immediately. You go get somebody like Ariel in or Glasner, they'll be like, yeah, but that's why you go get somebody from a top club if we go lose our first 3 games. That's why you don't go get the Crystal Palace manager. That's why you don't do this. Like you'll always be losing when it comes to the media. So it's a very tough one. But there's another name, somebody I do want to get into as well, is Xavi. Now, I personally wouldn't want Xavi. I don't think he plays exciting football. I don't think he's the right man for the job. I saw when Hansi Flick took over Barcelona from him, it was a completely different ball game. He got so much out of players, and I feel like right now we currently struggle to get the best out of our players, and I just don't think it would be the right play getting him in. According to different reports, like from Fabrizio Romano, that Xavi is apparently studying the Premier League and would join Manchester United straight away without any European football or without whatever. And he's very, very keen. Me, to be honest, unless you're going to go out and get top tier manager, get me a decent manager from the Premier League who's doing well in the league and understands the league, and somebody hopefully that we can build with. So I personally wouldn't go near somebody like Xavi. It's just not for me. Not for me, definitely. Unai Emery is another name. I think this one's a bit of an interesting one, in all honesty, because I actually think he's a very decent manager. Um, I personally don't want him. Maybe it's just the United fan in me. He used to be Arsenal manager and things like that. I don't know. I just don't. I don't like. I don't like the history. We've seen him at big clubs before. He looks decent. Maybe he could be a decent manager to steady the ship for a couple years, and then hopefully then we go get like the better manager when we're playing a bit more, a bit better and a bit more consistent. But he's not the worst choice either. I wouldn't be too mad at it, to be completely honest. But I think he done very well with Villa. They're not having the greatest of seasons this season, but at his time there, he's really really leveled up Villa. So I don't think he's a bad manager. Again, not my preferred choice. Not my preferred choice. I think honestly, if it were down to me, it's between somebody like Areola and even Nagelsmann, maybe after the World Cup or something like that. If that were a possibility, maybe somebody like that. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I think yeah, it's a very interesting situation. Um, we find ourselves in the same situation we were in last year, and INEOS haven't made the right decision so far. So I don't know about the rest of you guys, but myself personally, I don't feel the most confident right now that INEOS will get it right now. So I guess we'll see. We'll see how stubborn they are. We'll see what they decide. For me, Iriola, happy with it. Perfect choice. Nagelsmann, perfect choice. Glasner, I'll take, but hopefully, he wouldn't be playing the 3 at the back. But for me, interim, key. I think we go down the interim route and we have a clean slate in the summer. But for now, Amorim in. I stay firm. I don't care. It's for everybody who's messaging me every single day. How do you still believe in this manager? Man, I don't know. But it's been a shaky start. Not the best, not the worst. We'll see how we go. But guys, thank you for tuning in. Please smash a like on the video. Get those subscribes in. Keep supporting the channel. Like I said, we got another video out on Thursday. I think that will be alive. And then we got all the match day content. I'll be up in Manchester. And at the stadium. If you see me, say hello, introduce yourselves, have a conversation, see where we're at. But guys, thank you for tuning in, and I'll catch you soon.